To the 10th session of the program and second session of the day. So now we have with us our eminent speaker, Dr. P. Harshini, Associate Professor, Editor and Content Writer in Department of English and Head in ARI Center for Documentation and Recruitment, Dr. MGR Education and Research Institute, Chennai. And we also have with us Dr. S. Manivannan D. and Mr. Ganesh, Technical in charge. So may I call upon Dr. S. Manivannan, welcome to gathering attendees. Over to you, sir.
Good morning once again. Today, at 10th session of our 5th day, it's a great moment, I can say. We all have enjoyed session by Dr. Vijay Kumar sir from Crescent University. Yet another session, Dr. Harshini from Dr. Indian Educational Research Institute, Host Institute, from where she is working, is going to give very good session for doing a lot of things, how to go for technical writing without any mistakes. That is the biggest point what we have to understand. That Vijay Kumar sir has coined the term as a desk rejection. Desk rejection is the worst happening in the what I can say journal industry, where without further reading the article, the chief editor or associate editor, they themselves rejecting our article just by reading the abstract itself. So we need to be very strong in how we report to these kind of journals. To help us, we have Dr. Harshini Madam joining from MGR University. I wholeheartedly welcome you, Madam, for giving wonderful idea to our beloved research scholars who have joined all over from India as well as from abroad. I wanted to tell one more thing about Dr. Harshini. Apart from doing teaching for the UG, PG, MPhil students, she does wonderful job for our ARI department, Advanced Research Institute, which is a specialized R&D wing of Dr. MGR University, which is doing wonderful job for our university in terms of bringing close work project to funding from our central government, doing a lot of projects from all the departments, I can say. The backbone of that ARI is Dr. Harshini Madam. She is doing a lot of documentation work for them. They may be belong to any department, civil department, mechanical, but finally the document will come to Dr. Harshini. She corrects and she takes a few time also, say for example 5 days or 10 days. That time doesn't matter. The quality output from Harshini attracts a lot of proposals, the funding opportunity we are getting. Like that, we must have each and every department or any institute must have a person like Dr. Harshini. I feel proud to have such a person working under me, doing a lot of work for our university. With this input, I am really sure our research scholars will take the message further and do wonderful job there for research career. Thank you, Dr. Harshini Madam, for joining this happiest movement. And I request Mrs. Vidya to proceed further and let me join at the end of this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So now it's time to introduce our eminent speaker. Dr. Harshini, Associate Professor, Editor and Content Writer, Department of English, and Head ARI Center for Documentation and Recruitment, MGR Education and Research Institute. Dr. Harshini did her BA in English Literature from SNB Vaishnav College, Chennai. She did her Bachelor of Library and Information Science from Madras University, Chennai. Her Master of Library Information Science from Madras University, Chennai. MA in English Literature from Madras University. MPhil in English Literature from Madras University again, and a doctorate in English Literature from Madras Presidency College, Chennai. For professional experience, she started her career as a librarian in Vedavalli Vidyalaya Senior Secondary School, Vellore. She worked as an assistant professor in Rajarajeshwari Engineering College, Chennai. Currently, she is an associate professor in Dr. MGR Education and Research Institute. Her guideship details, currently she is guiding 2 research scholars. Some of her professional expertise. She is an expert in proofreading and editing, expert in drafting various reports. She's organized spoken English classes for students from rural areas. She's a member of Board of Studies for MPhil in English Literature. She's a research advisory member for research scholars in Wales University and St. Peter's Higher Education Research Institute in Chennai. She's an active member in organizing various national and international conferences. She's introduced competitive test methods to students aspiring to go abroad. She's an expert in drafting circulars, memos, and other communications for the university. She's attended over 13 international and national conferences and 6 faculty development programs and workshops. And she's organized and conducted 11 workshops and guest lectures. Dr. Harshini has been invited as a resource person in many academic institutions, physically and virtually. She has edited over 100 plus theses and research papers for many research scholars. These are some of the feedbacks that she received from research scholars. The publications, she has published 22 research papers in international journals and conferences, and she has presented 13 papers in conferences. Some of her awards and achievements. She received the Best Teacher Award 3 times from Manavarulam Chennai, Manavarulam and Department of Tamil Dr. M.J. Education Research Institute, and Manavarulam and Lions Club Chennai. She received the Campus Ambassador Award from Dr. M.J. Education Research Institute. She received the Event Coordinator Award for coordinating various events at our institute, and she was an internal panel member in national level online panel discussion on Girish Karnad, the Indian playwright. For areas of interest, cultural studies, English language teaching, and Indian writing in English. Some of the off-subject courses handled: career and confidence building course, audit course, qualitative and quantitative skills course, business English, and special English and pedagogy of English. So on behalf of Dr. MGR Education and Research Institute, we really thank her for gracing us with her presence and wish her good luck for her future endeavors. May I call upon Dr. Harshini to please take over the session. Over to you, ma'am.
A pleasant good morning, everyone. It gives me great delight to be a part of this wonderful program as both member of the organizing committee and resource person. I would like to immensely thank our Honorable President and inspiring leader, Engineer A.C.S. Arun Kumar, for his motivation and support. I am also grateful to all dignitaries of our university, especially our Dean Dr. S. Manivannan, for his sincere efforts in bringing the best out of us always. I am also thankful to other members of the organizing committee of this STTP, Mrs. Vidya and Mr. Ganesh Babu, for their dedication. Now coming to the topic of my session, circumventing grammar mistakes in research, a practical approach, and an introduction to Grammarly. I wish to tell you that this is a topic suitable for all sorts of researchers. It is confined to any particular subject or any particular nation, as research writing of any form takes place in internationally acclaimed language, English. So grammar mistakes in English is a common problem faced by most of the researchers, and I should also not deny the fact that English is sometimes a tricky language, especially for the non-native speakers. So people with wonderful subject skills struggle to put their thoughts in a proper fashion. And this also causes trouble when they try to publish their work in reputed journals. So this session is an attempt to help you all understand how and where grammatical mistakes occur and how we can avoid them in the research writing process. Okay, so I have planned the session in such a way that the first part talks generally about writing and how and what methods we need to follow during the process, and the second part concentrates on grammar and the areas where we need to correct, and the last and final part talks about Grammarly software. And I will also be showing you how Grammarly works. Okay, So I hope you all will enjoy the session. Now let me share my screen. So could you see the thing? Let me go for slideshow. Is it visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So now, this is the topic of my research, circumventing English grammar mistakes in research writing, a practical approach, and an introduction to Grammarly. Okay, so now, it is sometimes my idea to start with a beautiful quote, whichever I come across uh, related to my presentation. Okay, so this quote says, words do two major things. They provide food for the mind and create light for understanding and awareness. So you all know that knowledge is contagious. Okay. So how effectively we put the words, how effectively we structure it. Okay. That reaches participants better. That reaches many people better. So words are very, very powerful. Okay. Now let me go for the next. Now, research submission, a precious document. You all will agree with me that you would have put a lot and lots of hard work into it. So your research is a precious document which has undergone a lot of hardships into its making. The hard work that has been put into the research study could be simply rejected due to grammatical errors, which is a problem prevalent among many researchers. This can be rectified easily by following simple grammar rules, maybe rules pertaining to language and grammar. So if you follow some simple rules, definitely you will understand how and where you're making mistakes and how you can correct it. Okay. Now, so we have got two acclaimed authors who say why important in research. So, according to Robert Galbot, writing for Science, okay. So he says, from note taking to publishing to teaching, language is the tool that gives sense to scientific writing. Whatever scientists do or observe, everything they come to know or to hypothesize is through language. Okay, what the other person has to say, Robert A. Dale, the writing of an accurate, understandable paper is just as important as the research itself. So, as much importance as you give to your research, the more importance you have to give for language also. Only then it will be reached. Your publisher, your author publisher will accept your paper, or you can readily publish up your thesis also. Okay. Now, reality check. See, this one thing which I want to tell you very honestly, reading grammar in isolation will not help in the process. And if it is thought so, it is a misconception. See, reading grammar, just taking grammar books and just reading the what is preposition, how the preposition, just by reading certain sentences, you will not get the writing process properly. If people tell you it is just a misconception, I was not introduced to grammar books when young. I was introduced to lots of storybooks, novels, and all that. And only when reading through the lines, we understand how grammatical structures are formed. Okay, so one needs to extensively read to understand how sentences are constructed and how grammatical forms are structured. The various means of reading to acquire the W skill, LSRW, so W skill is through newspapers, books, articles, novels, research papers published in journals of standing repute. So all these things will definitely help you to become a good writer. Even if you have not started, it is not too late to start even now. Spare an hour or so for the reading process every day, every single day. That would definitely help you in research writing. Okay. Now, the suggestion. You can have a model paper. See, a paper or thesis very close to the topic of the researcher, whichever topic you have taken. You can take similar topic like or a thesis like, and you can maybe predominantly the one written by native English speaker. You can take it as a sample for aiding you in research writing. Okay, with this, a researcher you can see the structure of the paper, how the people have structured their paper, how they begin, how the authors begin, what points are made in each section, how the results are connected with the discussion, how the conclusion is presented. All these things are very, very important factors for the journal to accept your paper. Okay, so only when you satisfy all these things, your paper will be accepted for publication in a standard journal. Okay, so when reading the model work, when you get to read the model work, the researcher, maybe you can note down the English phrases that the author uses in the work. Okay, the phrases can help increase readability of the text. So it will help you to increase the readability of the text as how the readers will perceive your document. Okay, so this is a suggestion, a very valuable suggestion which you can follow. Now, coming to the section order, there is no specific order as to how to write the various sections. No specific order. You can prefer writing whichever suits you best. Okay, but start writing with an abstract. That will help you to focus, orient ideas, and what are the key aspects of research, and also for the fact that it is the first thing that the organizer may ask for. If you're presenting in a conference, the first thing they will ask for is abstract. So you can maybe you can place your concentration on that. You can bring out all the key points into that, and you can frame it first. Okay. Maybe after you complete your paper, you can modify. It's not that you need to submit the same abstract. You can maybe you can modify. Okay. Then many authors start with methods, which is probably the easiest section to write because this is a part that will be usually clearest in mind. Methods. Actually, methods, they will be very clear with what method they are going to do or whatever it is. Okay. So beginning with the methods will give the confidence and impetus needed to move on to other sections of the paper. So with the method in hand, you can easily move on to other sections of the paper. So it's all left to you. It is not, there is no restriction that you have to start only with this particular order. See, the paper is in your hands. You are going to design it. Okay. So whichever way you like, whichever way you feel comfortable, you can start. Okay. Then. So now, how to understand what style and structure to use? What kind of style? There are lots of style guides. So how to understand what style you have to use and what structure you have to use? So before you venture for a journal, for writing your paper, you have to follow the chosen journal's requirements and style guide available in the page mentioned author resources. So there will be a page called author resources. They would have given you guidelines on what kind of articles they expect. Okay. So the guidelines would include acceptable titles. Okay. Whether the title, whichever you can guess, whether the title which we have given is acceptable for that particular journal. Then paper beginning, paper structure like literature review. For example, is the review of the literature near the beginning of the article or at the end? It will differ from journal to journal, from guide to guide will differ. So you have to be very clear what they expect. Okay, then are the results included in the discussion or in a separate section? Is there a conclusion section? So all these things. Then layout, including how the abstract should be presented, whether it's one long paragraph or 5, 6 short paragraphs, if anything. Okay. Then structure of sections. Some journals prescribe how certain sections, most commonly the discussion, okay, are organized and what subheadings should be included. All these things they would have given you. Okay, you just go through it carefully and then you start venturing to write your paper. Okay, then making citations, use of passive style or whether you have to use the active voice or passive voice, that also they will mention. Okay, then making citation, then bibliography arrangement, how keywords should be used, then whether it's American spelling or British spelling, all these things they will say. Okay, it will be available in the page called author resources. So it is imperative, it is compulsory to download and follow the chosen journal's instructions to authors before venturing to write. Before you start writing, you have to see that you download this and you start writing. Okay. See, highlighting key findings. Give a beforehand thought to highlight the contributions made. The contributions, what type of contribution you're going to make for your paper. Think of everything, okay? The problems leading to investigation, how well to investigate, how your investigation is going to differ from others, what is your major discovery, how different are the findings from what is already in literature, and the deep meaning. All these things you have to highlight, okay, when you're writing your paper. If there is too much highlights, you can delete it later on, but highlighting is very important. Okay, readers normally prefer reading the title and abstract first and go to the discussion page. See, readers, the way the readers read will vary. We cannot say that they will read only from the first to the end. They will read in any way. Okay, some may be curious about figures and tables. So some people, they will be only curious about figures and tables, and with the help of figures and tables, they will understand what the entire paper is all about. Okay, so it is impossible to ascertain how they read, but it is likely that the writer should have answers to the questions in almost all sections. So you have to highlight whatever the questions arises in your mind. You have to highlight everything. You have to find answers and keep it in mind. Okay, papers of other authors and how they have dealt with will help in the process. So as I told you, if you have a sample paper, you can take the help of that sample paper and you can keep it as your guide. Okay, the questions may vary from section to section and more emphasis can be laid on abstract and discussion as it would be the most preferred read. So abstract and discussion will be the most preferred read, okay, for the readers. So if you concentrate much on that, highlight, keep all the questions ready in your mind, then it will be very easy for you. Too much highlighting also is not necessary and few sentences can be removed. See, actually when you're writing the draft, after when you edit, you will find that you have given too many points. So you can remove the unnecessary points, okay? But during the process of drafting, highlighting your contribution constantly will help gain additional focus. So you can get additional focus on your writing when you give the first draft itself. Okay, remember the paper is a product. Your paper is a product. When you go to the market, you will find, you will want to get the best product for yourself, right? The same way the journals also would want to get the best paper. Okay, only then their value will be increased. So clearer and convincing ideas will make the journal buy it, definitely, without doubt. Okay, give enough meat. So bring in a clear English, clear layout, clear structure in writing. The research is becoming widely specialized. Write in such a way that even a non-expert or less experienced people can understand. See, why I am telling this is, see, I am a student of English literature. I may be familiar with only English literature, what are the novels, what are the authors and everything. But my career requires me to go for language teaching. So if I want to go for language teaching or if I want to do research in language teaching, probably because I get more funding or whatever it is because of that, then I may need to refer language teaching papers. Okay, so that is why I've mentioned people with the same degree search for different areas, probably due to funding. Okay, and hence literature should be easily understood. So you have to make sure that literature is easily understood by even the non-experts. Okay, clear and crisp to the point. You have to be very clear and crisp to the point. No tautology. Tautology is nothing but repetition. Okay, it should be avoided because it would confuse the readers. They will lose focus. Okay, bear in mind the following two. Readers may not be expert in the subject. Only after reading your paper, they are going to get some knowledge. Okay, so you have to keep all these things in mind before venturing to write. Have enough meat. That is, by meat I mention scientific substance for the readers. Okay, not in a complicated way. Don't make it too complicated, but with sufficient details to get them interested to reading your paper. Okay, but if there is a yes from your side for all these questions, then chances are more that your paper will be accepted. Okay, so standard forms and questions used by referees and editors to judge a paper. So referees will like all these things, whether it's all these things are present in your paper, and then the editor will have his own way of viewing the paper, and if everything is satisfactory, then they will go on for the next process, that is publication or whatever it is. Okay, you have to bear in mind the following question. Is the research novel? Is it new? There's something new which you want to tell them and of international relevance. Okay, does the article fit the aims and scope of the journal? The journal, your paper fit the aims and scope of that particular journal. Then is the paper written grammatically and clearly, grammatically correctly and clearly? Okay, is the writing style second and appropriate to the work? Whether your writing style is very good. Then is the title appropriate to the content? Okay, so then does the abstract accurately describe the content? Are the conclusions borne out by evidence and argument? So all these questions you have to prepare well in mind and have to prepare your paper. Okay, if there is a desk for all these questions, there are no chances that your paper will be accepted by any reputed journal. Okay, now come to the next part. As I told you, I have divided my presentation into three parts. While the first few slides talk about generally about writing process, this speaks about grammar mistakes. Okay, so this is from my desk. Okay, so see this sample of the mistakes researchers commit. Some kind of mistakes will be like they would not have given a proper word order. Some the verbs will not be consistent. Then they would have inserted a wrong word, unnecessary word in between. Wrong use of comma, wrong use of article, then preposition in the wrong place. Okay, then all these things they will have in the paper. So as editors, we would have to go through each and every line carefully, and we'll have to edit. Okay, then this is also one sample where they have made a lot of mistakes. Okay, so we'll have to, maybe there will be spelling mistakes. Then there will be more, if I need to add a little more stylish language to make it more formal, they would have given some informal kind of writing. So I will make it more formal to them, okay, so that the people who are accepting their work will be satisfied. This kind of subject verb agreement, okay, where the subject and the verb should agree with each other. All these things we'll have to be very careful when editing the thesis or when editing a research paper. So this part. This research paper. So research paper also this kind of thing, maybe I would have given some additional words to make the paper more formal. Okay, then verb forms. If it is changed, then I'll have to bring it. If it is given in the present tense, and when the sentence suddenly diverts itself to past tense, then I have to bring it in proper order. All these things I have to keep in mind when editing the paper. Okay, so. Structuring a sentence, word order differs in languages. Word order will differ massively from language to language. See, even to say a simple concept like I like you, it may be given in Croatian as like to me you. You like to me in Estonian. You are liking to me in Irish. I you like in Korean. You me you to me you like in Spanish. You me I like in Wolof. So the English sentence. This is the rat that lives in the house. This is the proper structure for English language. That word order in Japanese would be this Jack built house live in rat. So according to them, that is the word order. Okay. So it differs from language to language. Okay, so we have to, our focus is English. Okay, because internationally acclaimed language is English, and that is where we write most of our research papers and thesis. Okay, now see the basic word order in English. The weight that the reader will give to the information depends on how the sentence structure is carried out. You have to be very, very careful with the sentence structure. It has to follow a proper order. Okay, native speaking, English speaking readers have a very clear expectation on how the word order should appear in English too. And English too has a strict word order. It has a very strict word order as this is how it has to appear. Okay. So see the sentence below, you will understand clearly. The researchers sent their manuscript to the journal. So what kind of word order? You would have read in your school days that it follows, we have a word order, subject as verb plus object or direct object and indirect object. So the same word order we are following for the research papers also. So the researchers sent their manuscript to the journal. So this is a proper word order. The subject, verb, direct object and indirect object must be very close to each other as possible. So at the best, see that it is the order. Now see the sentence below. Last week, the researchers sent their manuscript to the journal for the second time. So last week it's modified. Okay, but the order in the middle, same. The sentence below does not follow the correct order. See, the researchers last week sent for the second time to the journal the manuscript. This is something very informal. Okay, when you're speaking, it doesn't mind. You can speak in any way, but when you're writing, you have to follow a proper word order. Okay, see, that is the right way. The position of the researcher last week sent for the second time. Last week, the researcher sent their manuscript to the journal for the second time. This is the right word order. Should not be given in this way. Then, see, the position for the second time is wrong. And the indirect object comes before the direct object. As I told you, it is first direct object and then indirect object. Okay, so here the indirect object comes first and then the direct object comes. So that's wrong way actually. Okay, the logical order of words. Put the elements of your sentence in the most logical order possible and do not confuse the reader. Please do not confuse the reader by confusing the elements in your sentence or words. Okay, readers expect words to be closely related and appear next to each other in a sentence. As I told you previously, they have to follow a proper word order. Okay, don't introduce new information in between. When you're writing something, if you suddenly want to introduce new information, maybe you can enclose it in bracket. That's not wrong. But in the running sentence, you should not do that. Okay, always ensure the key information is shared at the beginning itself. If you see this sentence, you will understand what I'm trying to mean. See, in correct way. Authors have evaluated the possibility to minimize the levels of background compounds, both those released from the back material and those from the previous sample collection using a cleaning procedure. So cleaning procedure is a very, very important part, keyword, but it comes at the end of the sentence. So the readers will lose focus. Okay, so you have to make sure that the keyword comes in the beginning itself. See, several authors have evaluated the possibility of using a cleaning procedure to minimize the levels of background compounds, both those released from the back material and those from the previous sample collection. You need not change anything, but see that keyword comes in the beginning itself. Okay, then only then the readers will understand that, okay, the key information is here. If you put it in the end while reading, they lose focus and there are chances that they will miss the key information. So that's very important. Place the subject before the verb. As I told you earlier, the subject must come before the verb. Say what something is before describing it. So you have to say what something is before you describe it. See the incorrect way. In the survey, participated 350 subjects. So which is important? 350 subjects is important. So you have to make sure that you put it in the front. 350 subjects participated in the survey. Okay. Then among the factors that influence the choice of parameters are time and cost. So time and cost is important, but it comes in the end. So you have to put it in the other way as time and cost are among the factors that influence the choice of parameters. So the subject has to come first and then it has to be followed by the verb, direct object, indirect object or whatever it is. Okay. So never delay the subject. Same thing. You should not delay the subject. See, when readers read rapidly, some key information may be missed. The key information is the most important part in the sentence of a paragraph, and if misplaced, the readers may not be able to spot it because they'll read quickly. They will not find time. Okay, they will read quickly, and so some key information, whichever is important, it may be lost. Okay. So linking expressions will hold good. See, incorrect way. It is interesting to note that x is equal to y. What is the key information here? X is equal to y. So, but you have written a lot of unnecessary words in the beginning. It is interesting to note that x is equal to y. So, what is the interestingly, one word, interestingly, x is equal to y. Okay, see the second sentence. As a consequence of the preceding observation, x is equal to y. This is also unnecessary. Okay, so you have to put it easily as consequently, x is equal to y or x is thus equal to y. Simple. Okay, see actually you are not writing a literary text. Please remember that in mind. You are going to communicate your findings to a mass audience. So you have to be sure that key information is given in the beginning itself. So, subject-verb agreement. See, subject-verb agreement is a very, very important part where researchers make mistakes. Okay, subject-verb agreement is a simple and important grammar rule that is often violated in research writing. Verbs must agree with their subjects. There is no other rule. Verbs must agree with their subject. This means if there is one subject, the verb must be singular. If it is more than one subject, the verb must be plural. So now look at the example. You will understand. Blood and saliva was collected from the patient upon admission to the ward. Okay, so what is the correct way? See, blood, and even though it is a part of a body, it is two nouns. Blood and saliva are two nouns. Okay, so you have to put only a plural verb. Where, not was. Was is wrong. Blood and saliva. Where, so you can see this was. It's not right. Where is right. Where collected from the patient upon admission to the ward. Okay. Then modern developments in drug discovery shows that malaria can be effectively treated. So this is wrong. Okay. The modern developments in drug discovery show that malaria can be effectively treated. So why I am giving this? No, I have given this sentences. Many people think that just by adding s to the verb, it becomes a plural. No, wrong. Okay. See, when there is a, if it is show, read, play, all these are all plural verbs. Okay. So modern developments in drug discovery, because the sentence has started with a plural subject, the verb also must be plural. Yeah? Okay. Now, putting the direct object before the indirect object. See, the usual word order is indirect object should come after the direct object, as I told you in the beginning itself. So I'm just showing you samples on how mistakes will occur when you do this kind of mistake. Okay, so avoid putting an indirect object at the beginning of the sentence or main clause. See, incorrect. This occurs when in the original network there is a dependent voltage. So what is the direct object? Dependent voltage is the direct object. So this occurs when there is a dependent voltage in the original network. So this is the right way. Okay, so you have to ensure that the direct object comes first and then it is followed by an indirect object. Okay, this is one thing. Another important thing which I wanted to tell you is pronoun. The wrong use of pronouns. How without referring to any subject, you just use a pronoun. People will get confused as to what you're referring to. Okay, so a pronoun can come in the beginning of the sentence only if it refers back to the noun in the previous sentence. Only if you have made a reference to a noun in the previous sentence, you can add a pronoun in the next sentence. But without a noun, if you just add it is so and so or they are so and so, it will confuse the readers. Definitely, they will not know what actually you're speaking about. Okay, if the pronoun comes first and noun later, it will cause to guess what it actually is. See, now the incorrect way. It is very important metal because in fact mercury is. So where is the noun mercury? Where it comes in the end? What? How the sentence starts? It. So wrong way. Okay. So in the correct way, you have to put it as mercury is a very important metal because in fact that you can talk about it. Okay, but see that in a paragraph, when you are giving the noun, you cannot just start the sentence with pronoun all the time. Okay, somewhere maybe after some 2 or 3 sentences, you can start again with the same noun. Okay, that will make it more clear. Okay, some people have the habit of giving the noun on top and then the whole paragraph they would have given only the pronoun, they, it, or whatever it is. So that will not look nice actually in formal writing. So somewhere maybe after 3 sentences, you can again refer to the noun and then you can continue the sentence. Then you can again put a pronoun. So that is the right way. Okay. You see the second sentence, although it is very stable and chemically inert material, studies have verified that the composition of crude waxes. So what is the subject here? Crude wax. So where it comes to the end. Okay. So definitely people will get confused. So although crude wax is very stable and chemically inert material, studies have verified that its composition is. So you can understand So this is how you have to put the pronoun only after you refer to a noun or after you refer to the subject. Okay. So unclear pronoun reference. The unclear pronoun reference arises when a pronoun, often it, this, that, they, could refer to more than one antecedent. Antecedent is nothing but word or words that a pronoun refers to. Okay, this is also one common mistake which we all make in the research paper. See, the incorrect way, when Ajay dropped the cup, to make it easy for you to understand, I've used very simple sentence. Okay, because this kind of sentences will lead sorts of researchers. Okay, so that's why. Then when Ajay dropped the cup onto the glass table, I think voice is not audible. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are.
Can I continue?
Yeah, ma'am, yeah, ma'am.
Okay, okay. So, see, when Ajay dropped the cup onto the glass table, it broke. So, what broke? The table or the cup? Which are you referring to? See, the cup broke when Ajay dropped it onto the glass table. So, you have to be very clear. So, now the sentence is clear that the cup has broken and not the glass. Okay, but in the previous sentence, if you see, when Ajay dropped the cup onto the glass table, it broke. So both are vulnerable. Okay. So what broke, the table or the cup? The question will arise. So you have to be very clear. This is unclear pronoun reference. Okay. Priya had a training at Amazon last month. This will become her career. What does this refer to? What does this refer to? So you have to be clear. Priya had a training at Amazon last month. This work will become her career. So the training where she undertook, the place where she undertook her training, that will become a part of her career. So you have to be very clear. Clear? Okay. See, negations near the beginning of the sentence. Negations. See, if you want to give something negative for the sentence, okay, that it is not right or something like that, don't start with a positive sentence and then go for the negative one. Definitely readers will lose track. Be very, very clear with that. Okay. See, the order of the sentence should follow a logical progression of thought. The thought, the mind should be occupied with a logical progression. It should not confuse the reader. Okay, the thought should move smoothly forward and never make the reader come back, reconsider what they have read. They have to be very careful. You have to be very careful. Okay. The incorrect sentences below show how they start and how suddenly they say change direction. See, incorrect. The files relating to medicine and antibiotics that were administered earlier to patients were not found. So you can understand. So it starts in a positive way, as if so many things are happening, but finally not found. So that's the wrong way actually. So how you have to put it a revised way is, no files were found relating to medicine and antibiotics that were earlier administered to patients. So that is the way you have to start a negation sentence. Then the number of times such things happen when customer is present is usually very few. Here also the same problem. So how you have to say is, this rarely happens when the customer is present. You understand? So if you want to give something negative, don't give a long sentence as if you are talking something positive and then end up with a negative word. Okay, if you want to, you be crisp the point. It's not found, that's all. It's not found. Maybe after that you can explain so many things. Okay, then. No adjective before the wrong noun or between two nouns. See, never put an adjective before a noun that it does not describe. If you put an adjective before a noun, then the meaning will be changed or will be confused. Normally, you cannot put an adjective between two nouns. See, the primary article role is incorrect. Okay, you have to put the primary role of the article is to, and then you can continue. So this is the way you have to write. Don't insert adjective before the noun. The algorithm computational intricacy. See, it will confuse. Okay, you have to put some, you have to add some preposition and you have to make it more formal. The computational intricacy of the algorithm. understand this one. So whatever you want to add, you can add. Okay, so if you put the adjective before the noun, it will cause confusion. They ensure no ambiguity in the word order. Ambiguity normally arises when a phrase is understood in more than one way. But the reader is understanding in a different way. That is actually a wrong thing, okay? You have to be very clear. See, incorrect. Students like irritating teachers. See, when I'm reading correct. Students like irritating teachers. But normally readers have students like irritating teachers. Okay, so not clear if irritating describes teachers or what students like doing. So there is ambiguity in the word order. So you have to put it in correct way as students like to irritate their teacher, or if you want to mean in another way, you can put students like teachers who are irritating. So this is how you can put. Okay. Then I listened to the teacher with a microphone. Did I use microphone or was the teacher holding it? See, I listened to a teacher with a microphone. When speaking, you're getting it. The tone is correct. But when you're writing, it shows ambiguity. Okay, using a microphone, I listened to the teacher, or I listened to the teacher who was holding a microphone. If you want to mean the other way, so you have to make sure that there is no ambiguity, no confusion between the sentences. Okay, understood in more than one way, as I told you in this example. Empathize with readers. See, readers vary. I may be one form of reader, somebody else may be reading in a different perspective. So readers vary. They may be highly educated professionals, scientists, researchers, or even students pursuing their graduation. But one thing commonly preferred among them when they read, they want to read only once. There is no need of reading slowly. Not that they have to read very slowly to understand. If they want to read very slowly, then it is understood that the writing is not very clear. Okay. No deep concentration is required. No need to put deep concentration to the work. As soon as I read, I have to understand. Then grasping the concept quickly. Immediately on reading, you have to grasp the content. Okay. Concept. Then understanding reader's intention instantly rather than getting it at the end of the sentence. I showed you a lot of examples. Okay, so that's how what the author's intention should be clearly understood. So in order to achieve what readers want, it is best to write in short sentences. You have to see that you write in short and crisp sentences. Okay, studies say that the average length of a sentence in English has become shorter and shorter over the centuries. See, in Shakespeare's time, it was about 45 words. 150 years ago, about 29 words. And today's experts recommend between 15 and 18 words. For academic writing, around 25 words is preferable, not more than that. Okay, if it is more than that, then it will cause a lot of confusion on how to understand your writing properly. Okay. Avoid longer sentences with too many ideas. See, the sentence below doesn't look sensible, which that is just called sentence sprawl. Okay, there is no grammatical mistake. You will not find any grammatical mistake in the sentence, but it is like as if reading a long paragraph. See, it has sentence sprawl. See this. Even if the frequency of the specific form of pulmonary tumor happens on a rare basis, since the behavior of these tumors is extremely difficult to predict and the histological features resembling a discrete cell tumor may lead to misdiagnosis a C2 tumor as a C1 tumor, it would be of interest to characterize. See how it is. You cannot be clear what actually the author is trying to say. So you have to split. Okay, see the revised form. Pulmonary tumor appears to be extremely rare. Its behavior is extremely difficult to predict. Moreover, the histological features which resemble a discrete cell tumor may mean that a C2 tumor is misdiagnosed as a C1 tumor. So this is how you have to write. You have to split it into short sentences and you have to write so that the readers can easily understand what you are trying to say. Please avoid sentence sprawl. Okay. Short sentences, people will think that because we are writing short sentences, it is something like we are losing your own style. Not like that. Okay, researchers must always keep in mind that they are not writing a literary piece of work. You are not writing a literary piece of work. Your foremost aim should be to communicate findings among researchers in a clear and lucid style. There is no need of feeling inadequate or have a sense of guilt that they are unable to express freely as in their own language. Though it is likely that some shades of meaning will be lost, still it is okay as long as they are able to make readers understand the key point, which should be key point should be the utmost priority. If you are able to put the key points and communicate, that is enough for a researcher. No need to write it like a literary text. It's not at all needed. Okay. It is not a sign of bad taste and superficiality. Now, use of articles. The articles are also very important. Determiners, we call them. Okay, accurate use of articles ensures clarity and readability. In research writing, grammatical errors occur due to incorrect use of articles. One should understand when and where to use articles, the and then. See, why I have bought this kind of definition is you have to be very clear in understanding how to use the, how to use am. Very simple thing, but still there are lots of things associated with the article. See, example, let's go to the temple, specific temple. Let's go to a temple, any temple rather than a specific one. So if you're going to mean a specific temple, you have to say, let's go to the temple. Okay. So an is used for non-specific or non-particular things. Example, I love to read a book. It is not any specific book. It is any book. Any book. Okay. So in research writing, you have to be very specific what you're trying to mention. See, correct. The aim of this document is to prove this the right way. Incorrect way is the aim of the document is to prove. You have to be specific. The aim of this document is to prove. See, for that, no, what I have found in my editing thing is lots of researchers will add the unnecessarily throughout their thesis. It's not necessary. Okay, wherever you want to put the, if you put there, it is sufficient. Not in all the places, because when you read those the causes a lot of disturbance when you are reading. So I normally when I'm editing, if there is unnecessary the, I just cut off. It doesn't cause any problem when reading the sentence because the is cut off. If there is the in one or two places in the sentence, that's more than sufficient because it is needed. Okay, unnecessary the, not necessary. All the samples were cleaned in the laboratory. See, all the samples were cleaned in laboratory. This is wrong. Which laboratory? The laboratory. Okay, that you have to be very clear. The results of the present study show. Results of the present study is incorrect. Okay, you have to be very specific. The result. Okay, so this is how you have to use articles. Use of colon. Colon also is very important in research. See, I have seen many people using colon in the wrong way. The colon is used to indicate a list of items in a sentence. You want to indicate a list of items, but you have to see that the sentence is complete and then you put a colon and then you add the list. Okay. However, if the part of sentence is incomplete, colon should be avoided. See, if you see the examples, you will understand. I had to purchase the following book from the bookstore: English, Maths, and Physics textbook. See, this incorrect way. I had to purchase the following book from the bookstore: colon, English, Maths, and Physics textbook. So this is the right way. Here the sentence is incomplete. Her favorite colors are. So if you are meaning favorite colors are, you have to continue as a running sentence. Don't put a colon. Okay. Her favorite colors are red, black, and white. So this is how you have to use. Now, coming back to the most important punctuation, comma. See, sometimes omission of commas in a sentence can lead to a grave mistake. If you don't put the comma in the correct place, it will lead to a sentence being misunderstood in so many ways. Okay, make use of commas to point a non-restrictive or non-essential material to prevent confusion and to indicate relationship among ideas and sentence parts. So for that purpose, you have to use comma compulsorily. Okay, see, technical research will demand comma. You have to know how to use comma and how where not to use comma. The incorrect way, when it comes to eating people, differ in their tastes. You are as if you are going to eat people. So that's wrong way. The correct way is when it comes to eating, comma, people differ in their tastes. This is how you have to put the comma. So omission of comma, see, omission of comma will lead to grave mistake. See, let's eat grandma. If you don't put a comma there, it will be as if you're going to eat your grandma. Okay, so if you're going to call your grandma to eat, let's eat, comma, grandma. So you're calling your grandma to have food. So that's how. Okay. See, superfluous commas. See, some researchers have the habit of putting commas wherever they feel like. This is wrong and would lead to confusion and complete change in meaning. Do not use commas to separate dependent clause from the main clause. Okay, separate the subject from the rest of the sentence. Clauses beginning with that, etc. No need to use comma for this kind of sentences. See, I'm showing a few examples. See, ever since the atomistic view of matter came to be accepted, being a burning question, how to see into the micro world of molecular chemistry. So there are two independent sentences. This is the correct way. Ever since the atomistic view of matter came to be accepted, it has been a burning question how to see into the micro world of molecular chemistry. So the comma is taken off. You have to put the sentence fully and then you have to place a full stop. Okay. So, systematic review surveys of the ocean floor revealed, that there are submarine mountain ranges that extended for thousands of years. So, you have to take off the comma and you have to write systematic surveys of the ocean floor revealed that when there were submarine mountain ranges that extended for thousands of kilometers. So, take off the comma and you have to put when you use that. Okay. But this some example like that. I don't want to prolong. I'll go for the next one. Here, comma splice occurs when two complete sentences are joined with only a comma, which should not be the case. It should have a longer punctuation mark such as colon, semicolon, or period. Okay, so this is called comma splice. Okay, see the incorrect way. The outcomes of three self-regulating experiments did not differ significantly. This indicates that the experimental process was reliable. Okay, so see, comma is there. Actually, it is wrong. The outcomes of three self-regulating experiments did not differ significantly. That's one sentence. And then the next sentence is, this indicates that the experimental process was reliable. Okay. So 6 coronary arteries are over and over again surgically bypassed. However, half of the bypass graft fail within 2 years. So 2 sentences which require a full stop period. Okay. So you have to put the period or colon, whatever it is, correctly and then proceed with the next sentence because you have started the sentence with the however. So for however, you have to put a semicolon and then put comma after however, and then you have to start the rest of the word. Okay, so this is comma splice. See, now active and passive voice. Many researchers would have confusion on how to use, whether to use active voice or whether to use passive voice. See, using the active voice definitely makes the sentence less wordy. When you use the active voice, you make it less wordy, more readable, and easier to understand. But journalists may sometimes ask to write in passive voice. Why? Because they want to avoid first-person references. See, many journals would ask to avoid the use of personal pronouns like I, we, my, our, etc. Okay, so this passive voice, though sounds wordy, lends an impersonal tone. So it lends an impersonal tone to the writing, which is perceived to be more objective and formal. So for some journals, passive voice will be preferable because it's very objective, very formal, very objective. Okay. So in case of avoiding personal tone, the passive structure can be followed. So if you want to avoid a personal tone, you can use the passive structure. Okay.
Sorry for the interruption, madam. Further, how longer you require, madam? For this, I request you to touch a little bit in Grammarly, madam. Madam, did you get my point?
Can I continue, sir?
Madam, further, how longer period you require for this finishing PPT, madam? Last 5 minutes, we request you to touch Grammarly portion.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Yes.
I will.
Further, how many slides are there?
Yeah, only 2 more slides, sir. After that, I'll
complete. Please, yes, madam. In 5 minutes, you please finish this, and after that, 5 minutes you touch that Grammarly portion.
Okay, sir. Okay. Sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, sir. So now this way you have to use passive and active voice. Okay, it depends. It's left to researchers and journals as to which should be used. Okay. Now, very important thing, etal. See, etal means and others. That is one author plus so many other authors. So if you the first author alone can be given, and then you have to put etal. See, it is commonly found in references, in text citations, and the reference list. See, it is never followed by a period. See, many people make a mistake. They think that it is an abbreviation and then put a period there. It is wrong actually. It only after al you have to put the period. Okay, etal is the proper spelling of the phrase. See, most major style guides do not require etal to be italicized. Okay, some fields specific publications require the italicization of the phrase. So it's always a good thing to double check. So whichever way they want, whether they want it to be italicized or not italicized, it depends on the journal. You have to see that and you have to use, but the right way is putting a period only after al. Okay, then Marian etal, then put the year and then argued, then continue like that. This is the way to use etal. So now can I go for Grammarly and then come back to this, sir?
Ma'am, you can continue. You finish this and then go for Grammarly.
Okay, sir. I'll continue for another 5 minutes, finish this and then go for Grammarly. Okay? Yes. Okay. See, parallel construction. Parallel construction is to give a balance. See, in maths, many researchers would be in maths subject. How you are putting a parallel line. If you put a parallel line, the lines do not meet. Okay, they do not meet, but they have a proper structure. Okay, so the same thing has to be followed in research writing also. The use of parallel construction is to give a balance and continuity to writing and to make sentence clear and easy to understand. When writing sentences with list or series, use parallel construction, which means putting the elements of the list or series in a grammatically equal form. Now, if you see the sentences below, you will understand. The incorrect way, this writing was neat and I could read it easily. So, it doesn't follow a parallel construction. You have to put it in the right way as its writing was neat and legible. You have to talk only about its writing, neat and legible. Okay, don't need to put unnecessary, I could read it easily. It's not necessary. Then, neither the responses to the questionnaire nor what we asked on the survey were answered. Okay, so neither the responses to the questionnaire nor the responses to the survey were answered. What we asked is unnecessary. No need to put it in the sentence. So this is what parallel construction means. You have to be very clear. You have to give a balance and continuity to writing in a proper form. This balance construction. See, parenthesis, very important the kind of punctuation, parenthesis. The parenthesis actually you have to put it in pairs and you have to allow, it allows researchers to provide additional information. If you want to give any additional information to make it more clear, you put a parenthesis. Okay. So the parenthetical material might be single word, a fragment, or multiple complete sentences. See, the commander and his assistant were expected to arrive by 10 p.m. So what are you talking about? You're talking only about commander. About his assistant is additional information which you have given there. So the noun only has to be considered and it has to be followed by a singular verb. Okay, the commander traveled by private jet. and as assistant, the additional information will come to understand that along with the commander, the assistant is also following. Then this one, the working model in this explained in, and the people put bracket wrong. Okay, so you have to make it as a running sentence. The working model is explained in figure 1. This stuff you have to use. Okay, if you want to use parentheses, the working model is explained in figure 1. Maybe additional information you can put in brackets. See, avoiding unnecessary shift in tense. See, the verb should be consistent with the type of tense used in a sentence. In formal writing, this unnecessary shift in tense would cause confusion and lead to grammatical error. Okay, see, incorrect. Making it very easy for you to understand. Okay, in technical writing, you can adopt the same method. Okay, so Divya opened the gate, walked through the door, and was prepared to meet her parents. But instead, a large brown dog runs to meet her at the door. So what actually we have started in the past. Okay, so now this runs is actually unnecessary tense. Okay, you have to change it. Divya opened they opened the car, walked through the door, and was prepared to meet her parents. But instead, a large brown dog ran to meet her at the door. So this is how you have to use the verb. Okay, run, not runs. Okay. So this use of tenses. See, for abstract, you have to use the past tense to talk about actual result, and then the present tense to talk about general facts, the paper itself, or analysis of findings. Then for introduction, you can use present tense to talk about general background information, present tense, perfect tense to talk about previous research. Then for related work, you can use past tense, then methods or experiment, past tense to talk about what was done, and present tense to explain diagrams, figures. Then for results, you can use past tense for results obtained, present tense to refer figures, graphs, table, that is table 1 shows like that. Then discussion, present tense to explain significance of results, past tense finding, with present tense to interpret results. Then conclusion, a combination of tenses. According to the sentence, you can put whether it's present, past, or whatever it is. Okay, because you are going to highlight past, research, and future directions also. So it is going to be a mixed variety of tenses. So this frequently confused word. Say accept, accept, this. Oh, the problem is no, either grammarly or whether your word will not be able to identify because the spelling is right. It is spelled correctly. So it will not help you to identify, and you also will think that it is the right way. So it is always preferable to have a dictionary near you, whether it's online or whether it is hard copy or whatever it is. You have to understand the meaning and then you have to use. Because these are all called homonyms. Okay. So the same word but different meaning. Same pronunciation but different meaning. So you have to take care of all these things. See, then this probably last slide, I think. So then we'll go for Grammarly. Okay, see, dangling modifier. A dangling modifier is usually a phrase frequently found at the beginning of the sentence, which refers to the word that is actually not stated in the sentence at all. Okay, what you're trying to modify, that is not there in the sentence. That is wrong, actually. Can be easy in spoken language. When you're speaking, no, you can adjust, you can speak. But when you're writing in a very formal tone, you have to see that formal writing is only followed. See, the incorrect way. After reading the original study, the article remains unconvincing. After the correct way is after reading the original study. That is, see here, after reading the who read. So after reading the original study, I find the article unconvincing. Then the failure, not having studied the lab manual carefully. See, they failed the experiment because they didn't study the lab manual carefully. So you have to identify, modify this. You have to put the subject in the right place. To institute a carbon tax, it is essential first to address the increasing influence of corporate lobby. So to institute a carbon tax, then reforming, so something like that. You have to put actually what you're trying to modify, that has to come in the sentence. Otherwise, it will be called as dangling modifier. Now, the last part of the presentation is Grammarly. So first, let me make you understand. See, there are lots of tools. Okay, so Grammarly is one such tool. Okay, so Grammarly is a writing tool. It helps in checking several types of errors. It detects. Am I audible? Audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. So it detects grammar and punctuation mistakes. It has features from basic to advanced, and it also provides real-time suggestions and guidelines on how to correct these mistakes. Then it's very good for spell check. Okay. So these are the features of Grammarly. It's a writing tool. So who can use Grammarly? See, anyone who wants to try Grammarly, Grammar Checker may get it. It's not a restriction that only one set of people should use Grammarly. Even I can use Grammarly if I want to, because I may also get confused if I don't find the way to use the proper punctuation. So I may also want to refer Grammarly. So it is what helpful tool for everyone. Okay, but it is mostly recommended for researchers, students who often have to submit project papers with flawed grammar. Okay, then teachers who need to check the grammar in the papers that they get. Then writers who professionally write on a daily basis and want to run a constant grammar check. Okay, then people who aren't used to writing in English. So for people who are not used to writing English, this will be very valuable tool because they don't know how to put the verb in the right order. So Grammarly will help them to put the right verb, right adjective, and so all those things. Definitely grammar will. Okay. Advantages. I have brought out both the advantages and disadvantages of Grammarly. So Grammarly will always check your writing for over 400 plus grammatical issues. So with it, one can almost be immune to making mistakes. So you will not feel like making mistakes at all. It offers suggestion on different vocabularies and adjectives to bring variety to a content, thus making it appealing to read. Okay, then it can find punctuation errors almost instantly. It encourages to maintain conciseness and clarity to easily ensure that writing is always to the point. Okay, then it has a goal setting feature, whether you're writing in a reported format or whether you're writing in a direct format or whether you're using some emotions to write your paragraph, all these things it will be displayed in goal setting, and it will help you to keep your writing in line with the genre specific style. It is completely free to use without premium. See, Grammarly, you can install it in for your Google, and then you can install it in your desktop, and you can install it as an add-on in your Word document also. Okay, it works on various apps, including most internet browsers, Chrome and Firefox, Microsoft Word, and iOS. Then has an advanced plagiarism checker and citation tool. Okay, then the premium option is also sold at a reasonable price. Not very costly, it's a reasonable price. So now what are the advantages? Limitations to using Grammarly. See, the tool is sometimes not so effective for researchers because why I'm trying to say this is you want to bring in 1 minute, but Grammarly will not be able to perceive what you're trying to say, and it will put it as something as wrong. And what you will be thinking is okay, because Grammarly that you have to correct it, and then it will mean something else. So for technical research writing, you have to be careful when using Grammarly because sometimes it may change the meaning. Okay, so while that may be obvious for any grammar checking software, any grammar checking software for that matter, it means that it works as well for non-native English speakers. So non-native English speaker, it is a little complicated tool because you have to understand first, you have to understand the format of writing, sentence structure. If you know everything, then you can easily understand where you're making mistake and how you have to avoid. But see, if you don't understand the reported grammar mistake, you become vulnerable to mistakes. So if you are not able to understand if Grammarly shows that particular word as a mistake and you also correct it, then you may be thinking that that will not be right. What Grammarly says is right, but actually it will change the meaning. See, to make when the algorithm doesn't understand your text, that's very important. It doesn't understand your text, or you end up correcting text when it is not that necessary. So it may not be necessary at all for you to correct, but because Grammarly shows it is a mistake, you have to correct it, and it will lead to change of meaning. Okay, so that's very important. Then it has to be kept in mind that this is only a program. See, actually, it is only a program. There's not a human working behind the scene checking your work. Okay, so if you want to come, if for example, editors means you can go to them and you can ask them, sir, this way the meaning has to be given. Can you change it? They will understand and they will change. But Grammarly cannot do that. Okay, because it's only a program. Then it can miss things, especially when dealing with slang. Then Grammarly only checks sentence structure. It cannot help you write better ideas or format those ideas into a logical structure or flow. So these are the problems with Grammarly. Okay, and then final note. See, when setting on a mission to write, a researcher should always keep the following in mind. See, pick up a topic that inspires you. You have to pick up a topic that inspires you very much. Then you have to look out for reliable sources. Then you have to organize your thoughts and notes. Then you have to brainstorm a substantial outline. Then you have to write a first draft. Then read through the first draft and rewrite. You have to rewrite again. See, rewriting will only help you to make your writing more better. Okay, then edit and edit to bring it to a final shape. You have to do a lot of editing work. Because first time itself, you cannot expect your paper to be perfect. Okay, you have to edit. Maybe if you have a friend who is good, you can give it to them and you can ask them that they will, because 4 eyes are better than 2, they used to say. So that's way. Then follow journal style guide rules. Okay, and then you have to submit. You don't forget to spend time for reading every day. So this is the thing. Okay, now let me go for Grammarly software. See, actually, I have added Grammarly as an add-on feature. I'm just taking time. See, the Grammarly add-on feature is here. Okay. So you can open Grammarly. And it will show you what kind of things. See, I'm using only the basic version. Okay. So all this will be enabled once you opt for the premium version. Okay. So you can open Grammarly. And on the right side, it will tell you what kind of mistakes you have made in your work. Okay, see, the red marks show the mistake. Okay, so in despite of your, so you have to change the position. You have to click on to the particular word. It will show you what kind of mistake. If you don't know, if you want to ignore it, you can just ignore it. Okay, it seems that preposition may be incorrect here. Then what's the problem with application? It's application. So there is extra space between word and its application. So consider removing the extra space. Then objects. What is the problem with objects? It appears that you have improperly spaced some punctuation. Consider adding a space. So after a full stop, there should be some space. So if you add a space, then automatically it will go off. Okay. Then what's the problem with computer? It says that you have to add an article, computer or the computer. See, actually adding article is necessary, but too much of articles also is not good. Okay. So that's one thing which you have to remember. Then these are the kinds of mistakes that Grammarly will spot in your article. Then all other issues like plagiarism or whatever it is, that you can opt for premium version and you can see. Then, so this one thing. This I have installed as an add-on feature in my Word document. And other than that, you have Grammarly as in your desktop, where the screen will open. You can download it from Google, and whatever as sir said previously for Mendeley, the same way can be adopted here also. Okay, so this you have to import. You have to put import. Then you have to check. See, I have done one. I want this document for Grammarly. So this I have to click on this, and then I have to open. Then it will add on to this, and it will the same way as you saw in the Word format. The same way will be displayed here. Okay, this goes as I told you, whether you are what kind of audience, knowledgeable audience, formality is neutral, domain is general. So this kind of goal setting, depending on the tone of your language, okay, that will be used here. So here, the same way as I told you in the previous, the same kind of mistake will be highlighted on the right side. So overall performance is 48. So how once you correct the mistakes, then the percentage will be clear. Okay, so this is how you have to use Grammarly. Okay, so this is and you have to, everyone can have Grammarly software, but the only thing is you have to be very clear with your sentence structure. If you're too confident about your sentence, then no problem. Okay, if you are not very clear, then you have to have somebody else to check it for you other than using Grammarly. Okay, so this so thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to present my ideas. So why Grammarly catches the questions I'll answer. Why Grammarly catches passive voice as an error? That's what I told you, because it is an algorithm. Okay, they would have programmed it in such a way that it has to use only a passive structure. If you want to change it to active voice, you can change, no problem. It depends on how your journal wants it, whether your journal wants active voice or passive voice, depending on the guidelines, okay, laid by the journal. You can use the voice. Okay, then like how pet words. See, you can use them, but not so sparingly in your work. Okay, you can use it to some extent. That's all. Okay. Then what else? Maybe is there any other question which I can answer?
Remaining only appreciation, madam. Kindly accept that also.
Okay, sir. Okay. So and sir was telling me, asking me to tell you all how to speak in front of a mass audience. So actually, confidence is the key. And one more thing is, you have to prepare well before itself. Instead of going to the session blindfoldedly, if you prepare well in advance, then you will get a lot of ideas. For example, you're going for a Viva. Okay, you have to perceive what kind of questions you can expect from the audience, and you can answer them. You can write down the answers in your notebook or something like that, and then you can go and present. You'll be very confident when you're presenting. So, you have to practice well in advance before you go for any formal thing. Yes. Okay. So confidence is the key, and you should let go your nervousness when you are going for any kind of presentation. That's the only thing I can tell. Okay. Layout format. See, once that's what it's up to you. Once you finish checking with Grammarly, the document layout format, everything changes. once you can check for your mistakes. Once you have Grammarly has checked all the mistakes and you are also satisfied with the way Grammarly has checked your mistakes, what you have to do is you have to again format your document. You cannot just leave it like that. Okay, alignment is very important. Even though Grammarly checks the mistakes, only checks for mistakes, shows punctuation, alignment. It's likely that it will be changed, but you have to align it once again properly. Okay, so that is for checking plagiarism. I cannot promise you because I'm using only the basic version. Maybe when we go for the premium version, maybe
Madam,
don't
at this
know
moment,
if it will
I will add some point for this.
okay, sir.
Turnitin is the number one plagiarism software. At this moment, I won't recommend Grammarly. Grammarly maybe for language writing, but for the plagiarism component, undoubtedly Turnitin is the number one.
Okay, sir. So thank you very much, dear participants and the organizers, for giving me this wonderful opportunity. I hope it was really an effective session for you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for a wonderful session and your patience in answering all the questions. So, may I call Dr. S. Marimulan to deliver the vote of thanks?
Yes. Thank you, Mrs. Vijay. Before going for vote of thanks, let me finish this question and answer chat. Grammarly premium source per license will cost you approximately $80, something like that. They will go for 40 to 50% discount. That will cost you approximately $80. You can still negotiate with them. Only thing is, don't go for that Facebook advertisements or something like that. Straight away, Google it. Straight away, log into that Grammarly website. You can find the genuine reasons, genuine details there. Okay, don't go for this kind of Facebook advertisements like we can share something. You pay 50, I will pay 50. Like that, there are a lot of advertisements are available. Don't go for that. I recommend you to go for the purchase of genuine license available from Grammarly. Plagiarism and all, for plagiarism, really Turnitin is the number one. Of course, I recommend the institution to buy because that is not going to cost you 4,000 rupees. It may cost you 8 lakh or 9 lakh, something like that. Only university can or college can afford that amount. So, through your head of the department, through your head of the institution, you can place your request to buy a Turnitin license. MHRD is giving one more software also. Fortunately, we have Dr. Rama Vaidyanathan madam, who is heading the team for plagiarism component of our university. She is addressing on the last day, that means Monday. First session will be handled by Dr. Rama Vaidyanathan. She is heading the department, Abdul Kalam Research Center of our university. She is a liaison officer between our university and the InflibNet. InflibNet is giving free of cost one software is there. Ganesh, can you name that software, plagiarism software, which is free by MHRD?
I think
Bhubaneswari used to do that. What is that? No, not with one. Of course, I will share the detail on Monday. Don't worry, participants. But genuinely speaking, that free software which MHRD giving is not effective, I can say. Only thing is, for a moment's sake, we can use that software. We can go for Grammarly if our institution is providing. If it is not providing, Urkun, yes, right. Urkun performance, I can't recommend. Sorry, unfortunately, that is not giving. If it gives 10% plagiarism, then if we take the same article to the Turnitin, it gives more than 10%. That is my experience. I am sorry to tell that. Urkun, we will have that discussion on Monday. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. We will have a little outline about plagiarism. Today, we have spent the entire day how we can express ourselves in writing, effective writing, how we can convert our ideas, what we have done in the experimentation or our survey, our analysis, how we can convert that into article. That was our discussion today. Entirely, both the sessions went off really well. I'm really proud. I can convert this as a vote of thanks. Thank you, Dr. Rashmi, madam, for sparing
Thank you. Thank you.
your valuable time. I know you are such a busy person, correcting PhD thesis or MPhil thesis only. Based on our request, you have come and because of your golden hands, many people have been awarded PhD successfully. You are doing wonderful job for the youngsters, because I know youngsters and guide alone cannot bring the English connection. So you are doing wonderful job for many universities. You can in your PPT you can add your email ID also, such that our beloved research scholars in future, if they wanted to correct their PhD thesis, they can come to you. Kindly accept our invitation to be amongst our future events also. This kind of help, I know those persons who are good in English are not comfortable in technology. There will be few persons who are very comfortable in technology and they may not be good in English. And particularly, I wanted to tell there are only limited number of persons who are very good in English as well as very good in technology. I am really fortunate to have such one of the person working for our university, doing good job for our, right from small 4-line circular to 200 pages PhD thesis. You are taking care of that. Really, I am proud of you, Dr. Rashmi, madam. I pray Almighty to give good health, happiness, peace, as well as wealth, right? To you in abundantly. Let Almighty shower everything to you. Thanks, and accept our party thanks signed by our registrar.
Thank you, sir.
Please accept, madam.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's an honor for me to accept this. Thank you very much for all the encouragement, sir. And thank you, dear participants, for patiently listening to my session. I hope it would have been very useful for you. And I really wish you all the best in all your future endeavors. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Dean. Thank you, Dr. Harshini. Thank you, Ganesh sir. Thank you, my dear participants. Let's all meet tomorrow again at 9:50 for the 6th day. Anything else to be added, sir?
Yes. And Dr. Aruna, say another software is there that is also free only. Mendeley is free, I think.